Introduction: The surprising power of atomic habits. James Clear's Atomic Habits opens with an eye-opening insight into how small, consistent habits compound over time. The title itself sets the tone for the book. Atomic habits refers to habits that are so small they might seem insignificant, but over time, they have a profound impact on our lives. Clear emphasizes that success doesn't come from huge breakthroughs, but from the slow accumulation of good habits and the consistent elimination of bad ones. This is a radical shift from how we typically think about change. Most people, when trying to improve themselves, look for a dramatic overhaul. But Clear argues that the best way to improve is to focus on incremental changes, making small adjustments to your behavior over time. Imagine improving by just 1% every day. This might not seem like much in the short term, but compounded over a year, you would end up 37 times better at what you do. The first chapter presents a framework for this type of growth, introducing the idea that habits work in a loop. A cue triggers a craving, which leads to a response and ultimately a reward. Understanding this loop helps us see how habits form, how they can be broken, and how new habits can be built. Chapter 2: How your habits shape your identity, and vice versa. Clear's second chapter focuses on how habits are connected to our identity. The central idea here is that true behavioral change comes from identity change. We don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. This means that rather than focusing on the outcome, such as wanting to lose weight or get promoted, we should focus on becoming the type of person who achieves those outcomes. For instance, instead of saying, "I want to lose weight," you should say, "I am the type of person who makes healthy choices." This subtle shift in focus from outcome to identity makes a huge difference in how we approach the challenge. By focusing on who we want to become, rather than what we want to achieve, we create lasting change in our lives. Clear explains that we have two identities, the one we hold right now and the one we aspire to. Every action we take either reinforces our current identity or moves us toward a new one. For example, if you want to be a runner, you have to start seeing yourself as a runner. This is a crucial shift in mindset. Identity-based habits, which focus on becoming the kind of person you want to be, are far more effective than goal-based habits. The most important takeaway from this chapter is that habits are a powerful way to shape who we are. By focusing on building the identity you desire, a healthy person, a successful entrepreneur, a disciplined student, you align your actions with your goals, which makes those goals much easier to achieve. Chapter 3: How to Build Better Habits in 4 Simple Steps. In this chapter, Clear introduces a simple but powerful framework for building habits. He explains that all habits follow a 4-step pattern: cue, craving, response, and reward. Understanding this loop is key to both breaking bad habits and creating new ones. Cue: this is the trigger that initiates the habit. It can be something external like seeing a donut, or internal like feeling stressed. The cue leads to the craving for a certain outcome. Craving: this is the desire or urge to perform the behavior. It is the feeling of wanting something, the craving for relief from stress or the craving for a sweet taste. Response: the action you take to satisfy the craving. This is the actual habit you perform, whether it's eating the donut or going for a run. Reward: the positive outcome you experience from the response. The reward reinforces the behavior and makes it more likely that you'll repeat the habit in the future. Clear emphasizes that each of these steps can be manipulated to create better habits or break bad ones. For example, by changing your environment to expose you to better cues, like putting healthy food in sight or removing junk food from your house, you can make it easier to perform good habits. Conversely, by making bad habits harder to execute, such as by locking your phone in another room or putting your gym clothes on top of your dresser, you can make it more difficult to engage in behaviors you want to avoid. In this chapter, Clear also introduces the idea of the 2-minute rule. This rule says that any new habit should take less than 2 minutes to perform. By starting small and making the habit simple and easy, you remove resistance, making it easier to stick with. This principle is part of the reason why atomic habits, small habits, are so powerful. They don't require a lot of effort or time to begin. Chapter 4: The Man Who Didn't Look Right. Chapter 4 delves into the importance of noticing cues and becoming more aware of the triggers that shape our habits. Clear tells the story of a man who, despite looking completely healthy, did not appear well to a doctor. The doctor noticed his habits, how his behavior around food and exercise was out of alignment with his health. In a similar way, the chapter asks readers to pay attention to their own habits and the cues that influence their actions. Clear argues that most of our behaviors happen automatically, and we often don't recognize the cues that trigger our actions. For example, stress might cause us to eat junk food, or seeing our phone might make us scroll through social media. Recognizing these cues and understanding their impact is essential to changing our behavior. One of the most powerful strategies in this chapter is habit stacking. Habit stacking is a method where you attach a new habit to an existing one. For example, after you brush your teeth, an already established habit, you could immediately do a short meditation. This works because the cue for brushing your teeth triggers the next behavior, meditation, without you needing to rely on willpower or motivation. Clear also talks about the importance of consistency over intensity. Many people try to make drastic changes all at once, but this approach is usually unsustainable. Instead, Clear advises making tiny, incremental changes that you can stick to. Over time, these small habits will compound into significant improvements. These first 4 chapters lay the foundation for understanding how habits work and how to manipulate them. By focusing on small, consistent improvements and leveraging the power of identity and environment, readers can start building the habits that will lead them to success. Whether you're trying to get healthier, more productive, or just improve your life, the principles in these chapters will help you get there, one small habit at a time. Chapter 5. The best way to start a new habit. Building new habits doesn't require massive willpower or drastic efforts. The key to starting a new habit is to begin with a small, manageable action that can be done consistently, even if it feels insignificant. This is known as the 2-minute rule, where the habit is scaled down to something that can be done in just 2 minutes. For example, if you want to read more, start by reading 1 page per day. If you want to work out, begin by committing to just 2 minutes of exercise. This small action lowers the barrier to entry, reduces resistance, and builds momentum. By consistently doing something small, over time, the habit becomes ingrained, and soon you'll be doing much more than you initially set out to do. One effective strategy to make a new habit stick is habit stacking. This involves attaching a new habit to an already established one. For example, if you brush your teeth every morning, an existing habit, immediately follow it with a brief stretching routine. This creates a reliable trigger for your new habit and helps integrate it seamlessly into your daily routine. The magic of small, consistent actions is powerful. They create a snowball effect that can lead to significant changes. By starting small and being consistent, you increase your chances of success. Chapter 6. Motivation is overrated. Environment often matters more. Motivation is fleeting and unreliable. Clear emphasizes that motivation is often overrated when it comes to habit formation. Instead, the key to consistent progress lies in shaping your environment to encourage the desired behavior. If you want to form better habits, you must design your environment in a way that makes it easier for you to succeed. For instance, if your goal is to eat healthier, fill your kitchen with nutritious foods and keep junk food out of sight. If you want to work more efficiently, declutter your workspace to reduce distractions. By changing the environment around you, you reduce the cognitive load required to maintain a habit. Clear also discusses the idea of priming your environment, making small adjustments to prepare yourself for success. For example, if you want to read more, place a book on your nightstand so it's the first thing you see when you go to bed. The environment subtly influences your behavior, making it easier to engage in desired habits and harder to fall into old patterns. The power of your environment cannot be overstated. By making small adjustments to your surroundings, you can ensure that positive habits become automatic, requiring less conscious effort and willpower. Chapter 7. The secret to self-control. Self-control is often viewed as an inherent trait, but Clear argues that it is a skill that can be developed. The key to mastering self-control is not relying solely on willpower, but instead structuring your environment to make bad habits more difficult to indulge in. The most effective strategy for self-control is prevention, not resistance. For example, if you want to avoid procrastination, create an environment where distractions are eliminated. This could involve turning off your phone or blocking social media sites during work hours. By making bad habits harder to engage in, you reduce the temptation and increase your chances of success. Clear also introduces the concept of choice architecture, which refers to designing the decision-making environment to nudge you toward better choices. This means setting up your environment to make the desired behavior the default option. For example, placing healthy food in an easily accessible spot and hiding unhealthy food makes it more likely that you'll make healthier choices without thinking about it. Chapter 8: How to Make Good Habits Inevitable and Bad Habits Impossible. One of the most effective ways to build lasting habits is to make them inevitable. Clear suggests using commitment devices, which are tools or strategies that lock you into your desired behaviors. For example, setting up automatic transfers for savings ensures that you don't even have to think about saving money. It happens automatically. Similarly, you can lock yourself out of bad habits by making them more difficult to perform. For example, if you want to stop watching TV late at night, unplug your TV or put the remote in another room. By making the temptation less convenient, you significantly reduce the chances of indulging in bad habits. Clear also discusses the importance of habit tracking. Tracking your progress helps reinforce the behavior and keeps you motivated. By seeing your progress visually, you create a sense of accomplishment that fuels further success. To make good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible, you need to strategically design your environment, commit to automatic actions, and track your progress. This combination of strategies makes positive habits much easier to maintain and negative ones much harder to continue. Chapter 9: The Goldilocks Rule: How to Stay Motivated in Life and Work. The Goldilocks Rule emphasizes the importance of finding the right balance between difficulty and ease to maintain motivation. If something is too easy, you'll quickly become bored. If it's too hard, you'll feel frustrated. The sweet spot lies in finding challenges that are just beyond your current abilities, but still achievable. This optimal level of challenge keeps you engaged and motivated. Clear explains that motivation increases when you're working on tasks that are in your zone of proximal development, tasks that are not too difficult but still push your limits. This is the principle that keeps video games engaging. They gradually increase in difficulty, keeping players constantly challenged and motivated to progress. To maintain motivation in your own life, seek out activities that offer just the right amount of challenge. This could be learning a new skill, setting slightly higher goals, or tackling projects that require you to stretch your abilities. By keeping things interesting and slightly beyond your current skill level, you'll stay motivated and engaged over time. Chapter 10: The Downside of Creating Good Habits. While habits can be incredibly powerful, Clear warns of the danger of becoming too rigid in your routines. Once a habit becomes automatic, it's easy to stop questioning whether it's still serving your long-term goals. This can lead to complacency, where you continue performing the same habits without considering if they're still relevant or effective. Clear emphasizes the need for habit reflection, periodically reviewing your habits to ensure they're still aligned with your goals. If a habit no longer serves your purpose, it's important to adjust it or replace it with a more effective one. This reflection helps you avoid the trap of mindlessly sticking to routines that no longer contribute to your growth. Another danger is the tendency to over-focus on the process rather than the outcome. While habits are essential, it's important to remember why you're building them in the first place. If you're not regularly assessing your progress and adjusting your habits, you may miss the bigger picture. Conclusion: In chapters 5 to 10 of Atomic Habits, James Clear provides a comprehensive approach to building good habits and breaking bad ones. He emphasizes the importance of starting small, designing your environment to support your goals, and using commitment devices to make good habits inevitable. Additionally, Clear introduces the Goldilocks rule to maintain motivation and warns against becoming too rigid in your routines. Chapter 11: Walk Slowly but Never Backward. James Clear emphasizes that habits aren't always built on a smooth, continuous trajectory. At times, Progress seems imperceptible, and frustration sets in when you feel like nothing is happening. But growth, much like ice melting at 31 degrees Fahrenheit, isn't visible until a significant change happens. Small, consistent actions can lead to monumental results, but patience is required. Clear introduces the concept of plateaus of latent potential to explain why progress often feels slow in the beginning. This plateau is where growth is happening beneath the surface, but isn't noticeable until it reaches a tipping point. It's easy to get discouraged when the change isn't immediately visible, but Clear urges readers to embrace the process even when things seem stagnant. Success doesn't happen overnight, and this chapter aims to reframe the expectation of instant results, stressing the importance of patience and consistency. Clear shares powerful examples of how small habits compounded over time can lead to large-scale success. For instance, it's not the overnight switch to healthy eating that leads to long-term health, but rather the consistent choice to prioritize nutritious food day after day. The key takeaway here is that slow progress doesn't mean no progress. Small actions, compounded daily, lead to massive change over time. The main message is to not give up just because results aren't immediately apparent. Chapter 12. The Law of Least Effort. The principle of the law of least effort revolves around the idea that people tend to follow the path of least resistance, whether it's good or bad. Clear explains that the easier a habit is to adopt, the more likely it is to stick. The easier you make it to engage in a desired behavior, the more likely you are to repeat it. To build better habits, you need to reduce friction for good habits and increase friction for bad ones. For example, if your goal is to exercise more, make the process as easy as possible by preparing your workout gear the night before. If you want to eat healthier, place fruits and vegetables in visible areas of your kitchen while hiding unhealthy snacks out of sight. Clear also explores how environment design plays a significant role in shaping behavior. By creating an environment that supports your desired habits, you make it easier to engage in the right actions. Similarly, by intentionally designing your environment to make bad habits harder to follow, you increase the chances of success. One example is making unhealthy foods difficult to access, like keeping them out of the house or choosing to walk past the bakery to avoid temptation. This principle isn't just about making the process easier, but about reducing temptation by shaping your environment to reflect your goals. The takeaway here is that to succeed in forming good habits, make them as easy to do as possible. For bad habits, make them harder to do by increasing friction. By shaping your surroundings intentionally, you stack the odds in your favor. Chapter 13. How to Stop Procrastinating by Using the 2-Minute Rule. Procrastination is one of the biggest hurdles in habit formation, and Clear suggests overcoming it with the 2-minute rule. Scale down any new habit to something you can do in just 2 minutes. This takes away the intimidation factor and allows you to get started on tasks that might seem overwhelming. The 2-minute rule is simple. If you want to build a habit, the first 2 minutes of it should be easy enough to start with. If you want to develop a reading habit, start by reading just 1 page. If you want to exercise, begin with just 2 minutes of movement. The purpose isn't to complete the full habit in those 2 minutes, but to overcome inertia and get started. Clear emphasizes that starting small is often the hardest part of any habit, and by making the initial step as easy as possible, you eliminate the mental barriers that keep you from beginning. Once you start, you might find that continuing the full activity becomes more natural. The 2-minute rule is powerful because it makes it easier to initiate the habit. Once the initial task is done, momentum helps you keep going, and the small action expands into the full habit over time. Chapter 14. How to Make Good Habits Stick. Clear notes that consistency is key, not perfection. In this chapter, he focuses on how to make good habits stick, and one strategy is habit tracking. By marking off your progress, you create a sense of accomplishment that builds motivation to continue. Tracking allows you to visually see how far you've come, helping you maintain focus. Clear also introduces habit stacking, a technique for attaching a new habit to an existing one. For example, after brushing your teeth in the morning, you could immediately follow it with a 2-minute meditation. The existing habit acts as a reliable cue for the new behavior. This makes it easier to incorporate new habits into your routine because the prompt is already there. Another critical concept introduced is the idea of building identity-based habits. Instead of saying, I want to read more, say, I am a reader. When your habits are aligned with your identity, they become effortless to maintain because they're in harmony with the person you see yourself as. Clear emphasizes that making habits automatic through consistency and identity-based reinforcement is essential for long-term success. By tying habits to your identity, they no longer feel like something you should do. They are part of who you are. Chapter 15. The importance of environment in shaping habits. Clear emphasizes that your environment significantly impacts your ability to build and maintain habits. The environment around you acts as a constant cue for your behavior. To form better habits, it's essential to optimize your environment so it supports your goals. For instance, if you want to drink more water, keep a water bottle on your desk so it's always within arm's reach. If you want to reduce your screen time, place your phone in another room while you work. Clear introduces the concept of environment design, where you intentionally create surroundings that make it easy to engage in desired behaviors. One powerful aspect of this is how small changes, like rearranging your workspace or creating designated areas for specific activities, can have a profound impact on the success of your habits. You must also recognize the influence of social environment. The people you surround yourself with can either help or hinder your progress. If you want to develop a certain habit, it's helpful to find communities that support that goal. Chapter 16. The power of identity-based habits. The most transformative principle of atomic habits is the idea of identity-based habits. Clear argues that lasting behavior change doesn't happen because of a goal or outcome you want to achieve, but because of who you believe yourself to be. When you focus on identity, on becoming the person you want to be, your actions will align with that identity. For example, instead of setting a goal like, I want to run a marathon, shift the focus to, I am a runner. This subtle shift makes a profound difference because your actions then reflect the person you want to become, making it easier to form habits that align with your identity. Clear explains that identity-based habits are powerful because they align your behaviors with the vision of the person you wish to become. This way, habits aren't about willpower or external rewards, but about self-image and identity. Chapter 17. How to review your habits and make adjustments. Lastly, Clear concludes by emphasizing the importance of habit reflection. He argues that to make habits last, you must continually evaluate your progress and make adjustments as needed. This ongoing reflection prevents stagnation and keeps you aligned with your goals. Habit tracking and journaling are essential tools for reflection. By reviewing your habits regularly, you get to assess whether they are working or not, identify obstacles, and refine your approach. This allows you to remain flexible and adaptable as your needs and goals evolve. Clear also discusses the importance of flexibility in your habits. It's important to make adjustments when life circumstances change, and sometimes even small tweaks can lead to better outcomes. Conclusion: the compound effect of atomic habits. The concluding chapter of Atomic Habits drives home the concept of small changes compounded over time. Just like the incremental growth of a small seed into a large tree, tiny habits accumulate and create profound changes over time. It's the 1% improvements that, when consistently applied, lead to remarkable transformations. Clear's message is simple yet powerful. Success is not a result of one big change, but the compound effect of small habits, done consistently, over time. The book encourages readers to focus on the process rather than obsessing over the outcome. Atomic habits are powerful because they tap into the compound effect, creating long-lasting results. Final thoughts. In conclusion, Atomic Habits offers readers a practical roadmap for transforming their lives by focusing on small, incremental changes. By understanding the psychology of habit formation and the power of identity, Clear provides actionable insights that can help anyone build the habits that lead to success. Whether you're looking to improve your health, career, or personal development,